What's up, everybody? Rothstein here, Betting Public Sports Show. I'm your beloved host, Fame Rothstein, a.k.a. Michael Snackson, a.k.a. Bay O Wolf, a.k.a. Malcolm Excellence, a.k.a. Hacksaw Jim Thuggin, a.k.a. Yves St. Croissant. Today is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I know we're intermittently right now with the videos just because of time and whatnot, but it's about to start becoming more consistent. I do have action for you tomorrow for the Thursday night NFL action and any college action that we have. But today I'm going to talk some shit. And this is another thing we do on this channel. We talk shit. Jason Whitlock. He has the show Fearless on YouTube here. I want to say he's supported somehow by Blaze.com, the Glenn Beck fit or whatever. But Whitlock said something that I thought was very interesting that I kind of noticed that was kind of happening probably 15 years ago. About 2010, because I remember that this woman that I was dealing with, I was talking to her dad, and I had said to him, like the NFL was, changing rules, to accommodate more white skill players. Like all of a sudden there was just like all these white wide receivers came out of nowhere. Julian Edelman, all of them, Wes Welker, just a bunch of them. They're all usually the slots, but still. But Whitlock, what he said yesterday on his show or the other day on his show, was that the black male dominance, the American black male dominance in sports is no longer. And I'm sitting there listening to him. I'm like, he's right. He's got a point. I think he's right. If he says what I think he's going to say, he's exactly right. Now, he didn't say what I thought he was going to say. It's he kind of flushed it out kind of weirdly because it was kind of odd the way he was around what he was talking about, what he said it, but that doesn't make him any less right. He's on there with TJ Moe, who's like a former white wide receiver in the NFL, play, big time college ball in Missouri and whatnot. And then Steve Kelm, he calls him the Korean Cosell. You don't know who Cosell is, Howard Cosell. For those of you, some of y'all are young and some of y'all may not remember. Howard Cosell, just in a nutshell, he made it necessary for ESPN to be what it is because, he started, that gangster shit talking to he basically was what Stephen A. Smith is in the 70s. He was that. You've probably seen him in the movie Ali, that reporter and whatnot. But like to see, I caught him at the end. And niggas just still, he was that dude. I caught him at the end in the early 80s. And he was that dude. But I digress. But yeah, the black male dominance is no longer in sports. Think about it. This is what Whitlock, he brought out these examples, and he's right. Baseball, best player, a Korean or a Japanese guy. That's the best player. Mookie Betts was in there for a little, couple years. He might have been the best. Acuna Jr., he's not a black American, though. Acuna Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., he was there for, a little bit, but right now it's clearly, Shohei Ohtani. But before that, for years, it was Ken Griffey Jr. or Barry Bonds. Before that, it was Darryl Strawberry. Before that, you had a lot of guys, guys like Dave Parker and Dale Murphy ain't black, but you get what I'm saying. And yeah, and now it's Shohei Ohtani. So baseball's out. Even the best boxer, Usyk. Well, no, Bud Crawford's still there. I'll take that. So we'll take boxing out. But that was baseball. Football. I mean, the MVP was Josh Allen. I mean, I know Lamar's hurt this year. But even for years, they felt Josh Allen was the best player. You know, Mahomes, I mean, I know he's biracial, but, you know, and you got that going on. So we just said, we'll just ignore that. But, yeah, for years, they thought it was Josh Allen was the best player. You know, the white quarterback of Buffalo. So there's football. There's baseball. And then in NBA, the best player is Jokic. And if it ain't him, it's Luka. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are two white Euros. So, yeah, like, these you know, the black, but see, you know, Whitlock, the way he got weird about it is we start talking about the family structure, which is part of it. He made it, like, paramount. I don't know if it was necessarily paramount, but that is a big part of it. And he starts talking about the feminization and whatnot. Now that's what I thought he was, you know, I thought he was going to get, you know, deep into that. The feminization, you know, like, you know, it's just really, and really just the culture of that I don't give a fuckness. Like, that's just not a good ethos to walk around with. You know, for anybody, youth, you know, elder, old school, unk, whatever, auntie, whatever you are, a youngin, YN as they like to say, whatever you are, that's just not a good ethos to have of, you know, that I don't give a fuckness attitude that this youth have today. And yeah, so like, yeah, because you got to be dedicated to the craft in football or just in sports in general. And, you know, so many people are in it for the glamour and the glitz. They're not in it for the games. You know, and maybe that comes from, you know, you know, the family structure that Whitlock was talking about. See, like, in Whitlock, the thing with Whitlock is people don't like him. You know, they don't like what he say, but that don't necessarily mean he's wrong. You know, I'm a fan of him. I'm familiar with Whitlock back when he was just a writer. There was no really a lot of sports talk on TV, a lot of all this shit like you see like Around the Horn and well, that's going down, but like things like that, First Take, you know, Undisputed, stuff like that, you know, stuff like that wasn't on back then, you know, and Whitlock was just a writer. And, you know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. The reason why you guys don't like Whitlock and the reason why Whitlock probably is what he is, because I've heard that, you know, some of the stuff he says isn't how he really is. He's just doing it for a check, and which I get it. If that's true, I get it. I seen a Facebook post about that from a famous athlete who may or may have not come in contact with him. But at any rate, the reason he is what he is, and probably why he has the takes he has, is because I've always said this. He lost the birth certificate lottery. You know, the type of person he was, the journalist, the writer, you know, he probably grew up, you know, reading Sports Illustrated. You know, it was a big deal to get that every Thursday. You know, or whatever it published. You know, around here it came out on Thursday, but I always see it in the mail on Thursdays. But, you know, it was a big deal to get that, you know, be a writer and whatnot, the sporting news and all that kind of stuff. And the game changed while mid-career. And he wasn't able to change with it. How did it change? It became more of just people on television talking shit, talking heads. You know, Stephen A. Smith. You know, people, you know, went back to Cosell type motherfuckers. You know, personalities on TV. That's why he goes at those, you know, some of those women that he be going at. You know, Katie Nolan, you know, old Peanut Butter. You know, which is, you know, yeah, you know, what's her name? Joy Taylor. Because he's got a point. You know, some of these women, you know, they're just there for eye candy. And he's dead right. Like, I don't want to talk about football with Mina Kimes. You know what I'm saying? I'll talk about her day. You know, but I don't want to hear her tell me about how to You know how so-and-so isn't picking up, you know, the cues of a you know, Tampa 2 defense, and you know that he's got to throw a rail shot when he goes deep on that, and I don't want to hear that from him. I don't want to hear that from her. I really don't. You know, because I know you never played football. Yeah, that's the thing about football. That's what separates it from everything else. Like, there's no female equivalent for it that's even close to even really even watchable. You know, the timing and precision on a long pass, you know, whether it's middle, you know, little kids or the NFL is always beautiful. You know, I don't think you get that a lot of that in the women's football games. You know, basketball, you know, male, female, it's the same sport. You know, baseball is a little different. With softball, slightly different, but essentially, it's other than the pitching, it's essentially the same game. And you know, these shows will have these women on here talking football to you, and it's like, stop. So I get where he comes from when he says the shit he says. Like I said, plus he's from Indianapolis. I'm here in the Republic of Cincinnati, and you know, he's 90 minutes away. So I get some of his ethos. I get it. He's not a bad dude. Like, I just don't like how, like, you know, I know Black America's supposed to hate him. He's, you know, call him every coon and, you know, internally racist heckling that we've been known to give him and cats like him. And then, granted, he even goes at Stephen A. Smith on the same way. You know, just, it's weird. Like I said, but, you know, as long as ain't nobody getting hurt, talk your shit and, you know, get paid. Who cares? But when he talks about the black dominance of sports is no longer, he's spot on. Black America, you got to wake up and see that that's coming. And it's not nothing that the man orchestrated, doing it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We're doing it ourselves. Quit feminizing these boys. You know what I'm saying? Family structure, yeah. You know what I'm saying? If you done made a kid, whether you want to or not, find a way to work it out. Work it out. You know, like Gladys Knight told Monica and Brandy. Y'all go ahead and work it out. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to Whitlock. I thought that was a hell of a take by him. You know, and I probably flushed this out kind of weird. But I hope he comes back to and expands on it one day. And if he does, we'll be right here. But we'll be right here anyway. All right? Especially tomorrow. I actually got another video coming for you later today, so be ready for that. But we'll have the NFL action in college tomorrow. And we'll have the weekend as well. But until then, everybody, like I said, make sure you like and subscribe to the video. Okay? Share the channel. And we'll be back tomorrow with more action, with some sports investing action, all right? But until then, everybody be well. Peace.